can hear you.
Uh-huh.
I was talking to you directly.
That's all right. Okay,
That's
here
good.
we go. Let's see. I like to
Facebook.
refresh the page, and there is my. I see your lovely faces on Facebook. That's a good
I
sign.
look like I'm blue. Do
Oh,
I
You
look
do look
blue to
a
you?
little blue. It's a little. It's actually on
All
brand with
natural
your
light. I
blue.
don't know why that is.
That's all right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hit record and hello
I just got a
everyone.
notification on my phone.
Yeah, hi. We're gonna start letting everybody in. So as they come flying into the Zoom room, and then what I'm going to do is make Adam
My goodness.
our. There you go. I know it's gonna hear
You didn't
ding
tell me
dong
it was a
ding.
bunch of friends.
Hey, it's all about you, dude. Trust me when I say.
I
And
say,
you
was
may,
Shakina.
as the host, once in a while, see that you might have to let some people in. Just so you know, Adam, that's my only warning to
Oh,
you.
you want me to let him in?
You'll have to let them in because I won't be able to do that. But we have people watching on Facebook and those who are live on the Zoom call. Here's real quick, any questions you have, I am here to field it. I'm so excited today because Adam Holt, CEO of Asset Map, is here along with Allison Cisco. She's Director of Partnerships. I feel like I do talk to Allison quite a bit, but I feel like I see a lot of Adam. So there's a lot of love between the three of us here. And just as a quick intro for those of you who are not familiar, which is very few, because as I said to Adam before this actually started, and I'm going to repeat it, I had so many people say, "Do I actually get to talk to Adam today?" And I'm like, "You do. Like you do." And it's so exciting for me. You are a fintech extraordinaire. You possibly one of the most polished speakers in our profession as well. You are someone that I get to call my friend, and I feel very blessed for that, Adam. I really, really
Thank
mean that deeply. Um, have lots of acquaintances, and I hope you love the book that I sent.
Oh, it's awesome.
I
I got,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you really have it?
where's that?
So when you were talking, okay, so Joe Calloway, he's one of my friends, and I'm so blessed to call Joe my friend. He wrote this book, and it was probably one of the most career changing. You know how you read something and you're like, "Oh, I can't go back to what I didn't know because now I know this, and I have to go differently. Like I
Yeah,
have to do better. I have to be. I always say, go bigger, better, more bionic. Becoming a category of one.
yeah.
So for every person who's watching, this book was written a long time ago within the
Hmm.
last 20 years. But his point in it is extremely on par today with, especially with what you said at Gamma, which is people are exercising their belief of who you are, what you provide, your service, your thought leadership based on all their other experiences that day.
Yeah.
So whether they went to the grocery store or they got a cup of coffee or they got on a plane, everything's about use, ease. It's got to be easy peasy. It's got to be simple, intuitive, etc.
Yeah.
And so this is before even I would say fintech was at a mega height. I mean, this was when he wrote this book. And then when you spoke at Gamma, I was like, oh, I heard you and that replay that you sent,
Mhm.
and I posted on Facebook and I said, I got to send this book to Adam. I've got to
That
send this
was
book
so
to you. So I'm
sweet.
so glad. And then Allison, you are this process driven leadership thought leader in this space. I love the fact if anybody's ever spoken to Allison, my favorite part about it is she always is like, okay, 1, 2, 3, like she's got it down. And I think like that. So she and I are kindred spirits, and I get to call her as a privilege as well, my friend. So welcome to Females in Finance and a live demo of Asset Map. I'm so excited for you guys to see this.
It is true. Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. You are a force, as everybody knows, to be reckoned with. And I'm
Mhm.
really actually excited that we've had the opportunity to build a friendship over the past year or so now. And Allison, of course, I can't do it without her. Allison has been in the industry forever, whether it was her many days in the beginnings of eMoney all the way through to docu-based industry. So some of you, I think, know Allison from her experiences there, getting them off their feet. So imagine that, how far we've all come. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time from your schedule to spend time. We would love to make this more conversational. I was thinking the other day that these Zoom meetings, especially when we're all on mute, basically become watching a reality television program. I can't say this is as good as The Bachelor, but we're going to try, right? We're going to get you excited. But the point is that we want you to be part of it. So imagine that chat section on the right of your Zoom meeting is an opportunity to ask and reach out and, shout out, as well as say, no, I disagree. That's not the future. But let's talk about it together. So please be part of it. When we thought about what we wanted to share with you, and thank you for having us as part of Females in Finance community, this is an opportunity for us to share. Well, we're just sharing a great recipe, right? You might not, you might be allergic to planning. You might not like financial engagement. Maybe it's your favorite meal on the menu. But we're going to show you what we've been doing and how that's been just changing lives. And I think for most of you, if you're familiar with what we're doing, that's great. Maybe we'll show you some things. I'll probably preview our new user experience, which just rolled out on Tuesday. It's all about speed, so we might profile that. But I really wanted to share with you in many ways the idea of what is, sorry, I'm still admitting people here. I'm in the admission room. Is the big why, right? Simon Sinek, if you've done reading for his work, or you just watch him on TED Talks, everybody's got to know their why. And I think for me, if you can see my screen, guys, can you see my screen or no?
Not yet. I see you, and now it's popping. It's populating. There you go.
I think I've done this before, this Zoom thing, but you never know. So, I want to start out with this idea that if you're in the world of financial advice, and I've been doing it for a few years, the game is changing. Now, it's not just this whole remote thing, right? It's actually moving towards, I think, more empathy than we've ever seen before. This emotional relationship thing, especially given the COVID and also this, separation, I think we're actually in a tipping point to see things going more human. And it's not just because I'm trying to be different, but I think you guys all know deep in your gut that we all want a little bit more meaning in our life. Some want it spiritually, some want it physically, some want a relationship. I mean, you can keep going on this one. But I think the purpose of that, and I put up this slide here because hopefully that's recognizable to most of you. What is it? It's a fridge, right? And for me at my home, it's where most valued art basically lives, right? For me, it's my daughter. She's a super artist, and you got your pictures, maybe your family, maybe it's cluttered, maybe it's beautiful, modern, and there's no clutter at all. But it's, the surface is one thing, but what's inside is really your sustenance. And the reason why I love the analogy is because for many people in the finance world, they have no idea what's in their financial fridge. Okay? They're used to seeing, in many cases, from their financial professional, because they can't manage it on their own, they need a professional. They want to know that someone else is hopefully managing what's in their fridge because they need to consume that for the entirety of their life, right? Their retirement, obvious distributions. Do we have Gatorade if we drink too much the night before? I mean, there's lots of things to go with that analogy. But the reason why I love it is because if you look on the left, there's an asset map. If you've never seen it, it's a visual catalog of all of your financial stuff on one page. And that was the real big beauty of asset map in the early years, was to try to execute that. And we think it should be as important as knowing what's in your financial closet, your fridge, or whatever that's kind of sustaining you in your life. And so we think it deserves to be on the fridge. And our big vision, at least Allison and I have talked about it, is how do we put an asset map on every fridge on the planet? Okay. That means basically everyone should be empowered and have financial literacy, even at the highest level, unlike ever before. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm a professional like many of you. I've been in the business for 23 years now. Actually, this slide is old. But I focused on investment management and estate planning and insurance and financial planning. Been very involved in some other larger organizations. Cheryl, you mentioned I spoke at a couple of them, and I traveled to do some of this stuff. But I'm like most of you. I'm a student of the business. I love trying to help people. It's like my bigger mission. Money's kind of nice. The business has been good that it afforded me some success. But the reality is that for me, it's all about how do we contribute more? How do we help people? How do we get them faster to a place of being more financially well? And thankfully, as you know, our business affords you some kind of lifestyle if you can execute that at scale. Asset Map actually came out of that practice, which grew significantly because of this process. And then in 2012, we let some other people use it and it kind of blew up. And now it's basically my day job. So I'm no longer a full-time financial advisor. I've spent the last 5 years growing Asset Map, and it's been really exciting. What a journey. By the way, for those of you thinking about starting up a tech company, I don't know that was the best choice unless you're really passionate about it. We have a great business. But one of the things that really kind of stuck with me is I was watching a lot of customers deal with this exact same problem. So tell me if you relate to this blue figure, okay? Most of us have accumulated some stuff, right? Usually through our employer, and they give us a 401k. We bought life insurance from our cousin who was in the business for a day, or the person at the club or whatever. We manage our banking online today, so we feel a little bit more comfortable about that. But when you think about the reliance of people that that are dependent upon us to make decisions, okay? Usually when we come to the place of talking to a financial advisor, the first thing we have to do is organize the facts. We call it fact finding or KYC. Everyone's required to do it. The challenge is for years, nobody ever gave it back to the customer in a consumable way. And because we do this,
We have, Adam, we have some feedback. I think we need to mute some folks.
Oh boy.
You sounded like you're on Star Trek, early Star Trek. There we go.
Oh, sorry, Lauren. I didn't realize I was going to be managing this too. So, all right.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay. But one of the things that you probably saw in the video was that, I got to admit people too, is I tell you what, actually, Allison, can I make you a co-host? That would help
I think
me.
he can from there.
Let me see if I can do it. Sorry, everybody. Allison Moore, make host. Yeah, see what happens. All right, Allison.
Let's see what happens. I'm on it.
All right, thanks. You'll get these ringing doorbells every couple seconds, so you're welcome.
You got it. I don't mind.
Anyway, as I was saying, nothing like a little excitement. I think the key for us is to find a way to give consumers their life back. And what happened is that advisors basically were able to apply their intelligence in real time. And so many years ago, we started doing this for clients, and they kept telling us that this was what I always wanted from my advisor. The challenge is that they don't know how to ask for this, right? If you give all your clients statements every month, if you give them this beautiful bound booklet of financial planning every year, that's what they learn to come to expect. And then they're comparing your booklet over the other advisor's booklet, your statements over their statements. The process becomes very commoditized. What if I gave you back your life that you've given to me to share with me back in an organized view so that you can have a conversation about it? So many years ago, we started building these asset maps for businesses and for trusts, for single moms, for same-sex families. And we said, the real challenge is universally, without kind of focus on culture, is that we need to understand where everything is. So we tend to think that the real modern consumer is not about trying to, get just be convinced and sold anymore, which is the roots of our business, right? Let me convince you why this option makes sense, whether it's annuity, insurance, and investment. We really want to be engaged, and I think Amazon has profiled this well, right? I don't go to Amazon to shop per se, unless there's some deals going on. I already know what I want. I'm going to go there. I'm going to price shop, and then I'm going to execute. And that's what we talk about engagement, because they tend to think about what we might also need if we buy X, Y, or Z, or our buying behaviors. And I think that's the real key. And the challenge that I would really pose upon most of you who are in the financial services business is that there's been this huge shift towards everybody's got to be a financial planner. And we think that this is actually missing the mark. This is a funny cartoon that I found. It's over 30. Have you seen this before, Cheryl? Have you seen this cartoon?
I actually have seen this one.
It's been around forever. And the funny part about it is that, what is it? It's the person trying to talk to his clients about financial planning, and they hear gibberish, right?
Yep.
So hopefully your monitor doesn't look like that still. If it does, okay, you need some issues, but the concept is the same, right? And it's because most of us tend to talk like this. We love the technical side. We love the analytical piece. We think that it proves how smart we are. And it's not about ego, right? It's just that we think people are there because they want confidence in what? Our competence, our ability to help them make decisions in a vacuum of uncertainty. And so when you think about that, we come back at them with this technical analysis of what their retirement's going to look like. And all they want to know is, are we okay? Are we going to be okay? Do we have to sell the shore house? Will we be able to not outlive our money? Is the tax set up right? If I pass away, is my family going to lose? Right? The real cataclysmic issues that I think unfortunately paralyze a lot of people. And so I would argue that these days, we really need to focus on something a little different. We need to focus on how do we collect data from our clients? How do we profile? Okay, fast. No longer, I don't have any patience anymore. My ADD's kicked in. I argue, I learned it from my brothers who were diagnosed. I think ADD is actually an evolution thing, right? It's the advanced part of where we're going. I don't have enough time to spend on reading 80-page reports, okay? Give me a summary and then I'll talk about it if we really need to. So profiling and data and collection is really going to be huge for all of us, okay? How do we get that data? Number two, how do we do engagement? How do we get people involved in the conversation? This is not I'm going to do an analysis. I'm going to present it to you. You're going to take my recommendations, okay? This is engagement. I'm going to tell you some things based upon what I heard, okay? And we're going to have a conversation and we'll decide what to prioritize. This is engagement, remember, okay? It's not the old days of like, we'll go on a date and then I'm going to tell you how our life's going to be and here's what the kids' names are, okay? That doesn't work. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to work on this together. And it's a continuous process, right? Most of us know from many of our relationships, it ain't right out of the gate, okay? It's an evolving process and we got to work together on it. And then of course, if we're going to collect this data from clients, we need to be able to execute some insight on it, identifying opportunities and issues. And I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to do that. Now, for those of you that don't know what asset map you kind of conceptually understand, this is how it comes together. I would even recommend for many of you that if you're not using asset map, that you attempt to do this on your own. Now, I'm just literally telling you, yeah, compete with me directly. I happen to know that it's not scalable, but I think you should try it. What are the kind of tenets of delivering an asset map as we see it? Well, we've tested it for 10 years, so I kind of know that the most important thing for any household is what, right? Ask yourself this question. What's the most important part of every household, right? Write it down on the chat if you think you know, okay? You got 3 seconds before I tell you what it is. But I'm curious because, I want to see what you know. What's the most important of every household an advisor needs to know?
House and income, Dorothy Murdoch said.
Okay, that's good. I would argue there's another thing.
The breadwinner.
The breadwinner.
That's Kina.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go with Cassandra's answer.
People.
It's the people, okay? The reason that we're buying all this junk, that we're investing in all of this garbage, is for the people. The people matter. They're the ones we're doing it for. Who is dependent upon you and who are you dependent upon? Not just emotionally. I mean, literally, there's relationship. And that needs to be top of mind, front and center in every single discussion that we have with a client. So it lives there. The makeup of your household, people, entities. I want to add pets for those of you that love your pets, but people's entities, trusts, charities, business partners, key advisors. These are your household, and they make up basically the community, the micro community that represents who you're going to go to make decisions about. The other thing that's really important here is that we need to start thinking about this as client-centric. Now, there's been a joke that goes about it. We are customer-centric, right? Really? Why are your customers not in the middle? The challenge with most of finances is that we kind of see it as a cluttered mess. There's been very little way to organize it unless you want to look at it in Excel, okay? And Excel doesn't work for most humans, okay? If you're not math-minded, if I could do Excel, I'm not sure I need a financial advisor because I'm going to tinker with this till I get it right anyway. We all have those clients that have come to us and said, here's my wonderful Excel spreadsheet that modeled out the entire planet down to the cell. May not be the best fit. And a person who's going to engage with a financial professional wants to see their life differently. So we figured out, you know what, let's put them in the middle of their big cluttered mess, okay? The most important aspect, the most valuable thing on almost every single person's asset map is, as Dorothy said, is really who's in the house and what does their cash flow look like. In this case, I'm just looking at Tim for a second. I need to know where you're working, what other sources of income you have, because the present value of the cash value is the biggest asset most people have in their working years. It's critically important that we understand it. What matters, what are the pain points about that? Assets that are controlled by Tim, the same thing for, in this case, for Christine. I just happen to have Tim as the primary, but we can swap it, or it doesn't really matter. We can do gender neutral in asset map. I know we're one of the first programs to really address that. Because we wanted to make it truly agnostic to jurisdiction or family makeup, or whether it's a domestic partnership. We don't want the financial planning tool to drive the assumptions under whether Social Security is going to be there. So we kick all that out the door. They said that never mattered. It shouldn't matter in our planning and engagement. What do we control from a joint perspective? That's assets, liabilities. So think of this as a balance sheet spread by who owns what in what branch. Okay, so what do you know about Tim? Tim has an active 401k. He's got an inactive 401k. He's got a 401k at Vanguard. Wait, why does he have all those plans? Let's talk about that. Let's just talk about that. All right, he's got an expected inheritance in the future. He's got a brokerage account. Why is that not joint? And what the point of this is that when you add then insurance policies over the top of them, trust owned, doesn't matter, is that you now can afford a much different conversation. Why is this financial refrigerator organized the way it is, right? Why is the milk on the side here, right? It's gonna spoil. Why did you choose to put, wait, where are the eggs? You guys, are you allergic to eggs? You don't like eggs? What's my analogy in this, right? I'm looking at Christine's assets over here. I'm curious, why don't you have a Roth? Have you ever thought about that? Do you understand how that works? I'm looking at, oh my gosh, actually you're a teacher during the year, Christine, but you own a company on the side. Oh, that's your summer business. Tell me how that works. Have you thought about tax strategies to lower your taxable income there? Do you have a retirement plan? Do you have a business partner where if we lost them, that might be an issue? Do I need to know about that? Should they be on the map? So the point about what all of us do in financial engagement is that the first critical aspect of this is to take that data from them, show them and prove we actually were listening. Remember these things, these ears? The key is to then put that in front of them in a way that they can now mechanize it. I can now weaponize this beautiful map and go home. I can have a conversation. I'm not hunting anything from you. It's not a fight. Let's talk about how we make it better. How can we elevate the game? The key here is to start to create a non-judgmental, informational, and possibly inspirational engagement experience so that an advisor and a client can literally be on the same page. Now we'll work on how we should apply our advisor intelligence to this thing in real time. I might need to bring in a tax person or a legal person, an investment advisor, an insurance advisor. I don't know, you decide that. But the key is that let's start having a conversation around a conversation piece, okay? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, so that's the first and probably the core element for those of you interested in learning about what is Asset Map doing. It's this, regardless of complexity, regardless of household size, jurisdiction, and otherwise. We can do this in any currency right now, in any language. And so for those of you that are interacting with other character sets, we can do this in a different character font, like Chinese, if you want to talk about diversity and going into different markets. All right. Any thoughts or questions? Cheryl, do you see anything in the chat thread that's of interest?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking, as you literally took the words out of my mouth, because we're talking about writing in different languages. How many languages are you able to translate or support in this? Because I was thinking about for situations where you have like bilingual, trilingual homes where they have other people that they're pulling in. California is really, like when I lived in San Francisco, it was very common to work with trilingual homes.
Yeah, you can use any language right now that Microsoft supports.
Okay.
So,
wow.
And I say Microsoft, I should really say character set support. So keyboard support. I can change this all to Chinese right now. Now it's not translating the words, it's the character set, because the key is that you're building this together with someone, like a Lego project, right? Mm-hmm. I'm using PowerPoint, so I can't mess with it. But I can literally replace the word director of operations, change my keyboard set to Spanish, and now I have all Spanish characters. So I can type it out and have it still print and view accurately and search. So anyway, hopefully that answered your question.
No, it does. And the other part of it I'm going to tell is, that I'm been pretty insurance focused for 31 years. 29 of it has been in risk management.
Yeah.
So I realize that to a lot of planners, I am the dark side. But you know what? I've got to tell you that I love the fact that you have, insurance policies up there as an asset, because they are, and they can be used in a variety of different ways. And so for those insurance people that are listening, that I'll make certain that I go back and send this to. When you say asset, you're truly looking at all assets, and insurance policies are assets.
I love that you said that, because I've been having this mental argument with myself for years, right? Why why have we restricted the common nomenclature of finance and literacy to this idea that insurance is different than an asset or an investment? In fact, don't we all love talking about Tesla and GameStop and S&P 500? I mean, everybody loves to talk about the growth opportunity, like the lottery mindfulness, right?
Yeah.
And yet insurance becomes the, step-headed child, right? Whatever. What's it called? The ugly step. What is it?
I don't know, but Aaron Klein likes to tease me because I go to his events and I always have my black shirt that says, "I love insurance." I do.
That's
I
pretty
do
funny.
that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, and that's because it does have a very real, especially in this mapping format. And I'm going to tell you from an interface. One, this is so clean and easy to read. I love this, and I hope others will comment too, because I've seen a lot of this. This is super slick.
Well, and if you saw this digitally, we could move everything around, click on it, draw on it, do circles, cross it out. It was designed really to deal with. I come from an art background, and so before I got into finance, I was more of an architect than anything else. So I wanted to be able to draw on the napkin, say I need to move this here, and so we have that embedded in here. You can draw on any environment, any device, iPad or anything, which is usually really challenging. So I can, and of course, since we're all mobile now, it really works well for saying, I got to take this, move this here. I got to get rid of this. This doesn't make sense. This should be in trust. I got to move this to special needs, et cetera, et cetera. And you can literally start communicating visually in a way that we never really could before, unless you had a big whiteboard, which is stuck in the office. I can't get on a white. I mean, here, I can draw on here. You're not going to read that. So I think that the key is to make it interactive.
And I have to tell you, so Ruth Raftery with APEG is watching on Facebook, and she said, I love the visual of this tool. This is and I have to tell you, I am a mind mapper. In fact, I taught a class in our pro last week about this. People might have forgotten that in third grade, they taught us how to brainstorm things through mind maps. And here I am 50, and I'm still using mind maps. And this is what this is doing.
I see. I didn't know that. I have a big background in mind mapping too. So that's
I don't do anything without mapping it out, and it just the visual part of it. It's like the big napkin. I can take it everywhere. So I love this.
Great. It's good stuff. Well, we do know that there's greater visual recognition and also retention through mind mapping. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, we're basically talking about creating pictograms of information, right? Because we can recall those pictures and relationships of where things are. For most of my clients, and there's in the firm, there's about 1,600 of them now from the firm that I don't manage anymore. I can basically draw a map for every single one of them right now, because I visually understand, like I know they work, I know they have something here. And so from a recognition or a recall, if a client calls on the phone, I can bring this up, and I know all the people that are important. I could ask about them before I get stuck in the CRM trying to read a note like, oh, what did they do?
That's exactly it.
That's not helpful when somebody's like, I need some information and I need to know what to do because I got to make a decision. Especially as they get wealthier and they're making more.
And you've got people on Facebook saying, so Ruth Rafter said, I am a mind mapper too. Lori Bodish, agree. I love mind mapping too. So I think this is a very common thing in financial services, that we're so used to drawing those pictures out, like you've mentioned. And what you're doing is just making it beautiful, pliable, flexible, relatable, and transferable, because you can take it places and do stuff with it. That a lot of people have missed the boat on that part of it.
Well, I know that a lot of you are asking questions like, well, wait a minute, how fast is that though? Because the challenge with mind mapping has been, it's a lot of custom work. Asset map takes 15 minutes to make for any household. In fact, I can even offload the entire thing to the client to do.
Oh, you can give them a link to come and fill it out.
You go do it on their phone. I mean, and they don't have to know mind mapping. They just have to answer some basic questions. I'll show that to you if we have time. I wanted to tell, a lot of people don't realize that Asset Map is actually a full financial engagement platform, because we talk about Asset Map and the visualization because it's such a core part of our shtick, right? Like, we love getting to this place and spending the entire client meeting on the map. Let's just reorganize the kitchen and the fridge to make sure we got the right, it's not expired. Like, let's throw this out, get rid of this. Why is this here taking up space? Let's put the kind of food we want. And the same thing is true in a process meeting with a client, saying, let's question the intentionality of every one of these things to make sure it serves us and the people that matter over the time. And if it doesn't deserve to be here. Let's get rid of it, okay? But we also built, because we had so much request for it, people say, can you apply the same concept to financial planning? And so we said, okay, basically the concept of getting to a one-page financial plan, a one-page asset map, one-page financial plan. And we took a whole bunch of, over 10 years ago, I put together a group of people from where I did my MBA, and we said, okay, this is the problem we have to bust. I need to communicate both the concept of funding and tell people the bottom line first. I want the answer on page 1. I don't want it buried on page 32. The answer is, am I funded? Are we okay? And if we're not, what do I have to do about it right now to get on track? Okay. And I've been through coaching my whole life. I don't want to go through 5 years of therapy to find out that what I should have done was call my brother. Okay. I want to tell you, first thing you do is you got to call your brother, and then we'll figure out, you got to commit to this part first. So if it's saving, you've got to save X number of dollars a month. Tell me that now. Now we're going to figure out how the heck we're going to do it. If you're undercovered for an insurance situation, like a loss of life, tell me what that exposure is. Tell me what it's going to cost to fund it or to finance it or to forgive it and move on. Whether you're looking at it both in this kind of tradition, what I think is the progress bar, or whether you're looking at it from a cash flow basis, because most of us think this way. We had to build it. So you think about goal-based financial planning and cash-based financial or cash flow planning. These always fight. Which one's better? We're like, I don't care. Let's build them both. And so the idea is that you can just toggle that view when you need it. Because as an advisor, I don't want to debate which is the better financial planning program. I just want to be able to communicate based upon what the customer needs. Now, the customer needs to see where they run out of money fine. Some customers are like, Adam, just tell me what I got to do. Okay, that's fine too. But the key to this, and why we tend to focus on this differently, is we create this idea of health screening. So I think a lot of people are saying that they've wanted this for many years, but didn't know how to execute it. What if I told you in 30 seconds, I could click a bunch of buttons and it's going to run an analysis for retirement, education, long-term care, life insurance, disability, or whatever you want in 30 seconds and populate the whole thing. Now let's talk about what we need to change so that we can prioritize this and keep it constantly live to changes in the asset map. That becomes really powerful because I've just now gotten rid of my entire prep for every meeting. I don't have to spend 2 hours in my lovely, other platforms out there getting ready for the presentation just to find out that 3 things were wrong, okay? Because when I go to the meeting, they tell me, oh, I'm missing information. So the key is to make this collaborative engaging. And I think the bigger piece that most people are missing is that if they don't have the ability to get to the data, Cheryl, they're basically shooting themselves in the foot. Do you realize that once you've used the planning platform for 2-3 years and you've got any number of households in there, well, now all of a sudden you're thinking, now that I'm here, I kind of want to know who's kind of underfunded and who bought investments from me, but never actually bought life insurance because I want to call Cheryl and bring her in. And wait, who has actually addressed the long-term care situation? Are they self-funding that? And who are my highest net worth clients based upon wallet share? Like, those are the questions you actually want to know once you've created some level of scale and success. But none of the platforms allow you to do this. So we said, well, out of the box, I want to be able to do data mining day one. That means give me the ability to start searching for opportunities and conditions from the entire book of business. And that's really where I want to tell most of you, you have to pay attention to this. Because we are all investing in technology today that in 2 or 3 years will be our legacy technology that we will probably want to unwind. And if it is not capable of giving us the insight on the data, you are setting yourself to basically be, driving a diesel truck when we all go electric. I didn't see it coming. I was driving my diesel truck.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, there ain't no diesel truck gas stations. So you're going to be forced to retool. So I really I can't impress upon you, no matter what tech decision you're making today, you need to be thoughtful of where you're going to arrive. Just like we do planning for people, you got to arrive with the right stuff in their inventory. Think about this. You're going to need access to data and big data at that. I don't know if you've had that experience, Cheryl.
Yeah, and I'm going to also I want to reiterate something that happened in the chat box for those who are on Facebook, because Dorothy Murdoch asked some great questions. She's asked, did DAS map integrate with CRM systems to increase the data entry, right? And how about financial planning and software? Which Allison was quick to respond, yes. Wealthbox, Smart Office, Redtail. I was going to say Redtail. I mean, come on, you and Brian are buddies. Financial planning would be Money Guide Pro. And then she also asked about eMoney Advisor 360, and Allison responded, not as of today, but they've been suggested. And I've got to tell you too, that people on Facebook said something about what was really interesting about the actual visual component of it. Ruth said something that I think is extremely true. From a neuroscience perspective, she's like, as a client, if I had this visual, I would always remember which insurance policy was up in that top left corner. Like when you show it to them, it's kind of like imprinted on their brain. One of the questions that I had as you were going through this was, as clients answer questions or those data points, is anything reflexive, meaning that if they answer X, that it populates Y to make certain for that cross pollen or that cross service opportunity?
Yeah, I think if I understand it, the answer is yes. There's two. I'm going to actually show you something pretty cool, because I think once you guys see this, I think you'll be surprised, because what we're trying to do is we're really trying to think outside the box and execute outside the box. We didn't get a lot of love for it, frankly, because I know money advisors and professionals are like, give me an Excel-based financial planning tool, and that's what I'm going to use because that's how I know how to sell. Okay, good for you. That's wonderful. I understand that. I grew up on that too. But that's not meeting the consumer need. And to try to address the question that was brought up, yes, we have really three ways to get information. I'll kind of go into it briefly. The first way and most common way that advisors are actually getting data is they're interacting with their clients. They know this in their head. They have it in their systems. And so they use either paper or screen sharing or some form of mobile intake, or they're doing screen sharing like we're doing today, to actually interact with their clients. And they build these maps together and they evolve over time because they're never perfect. It's just a constant evolving. Like, does your fridge ever have exactly the right food in it for every single environment? No. It's an ongoing discussion. And it's one of the things I really try to promote, is that for us as advisors to get to this place where we can work however serves us, remote, in person, right? Depending upon how many pandemics we have going one time. Or whether this becomes your new normal. I'm going to stay remote. I've been remote for any client meetings I've done for the last 7 years, 95% remote. I never left the office. But I think the key is that when we consider that our new boardroom, meeting room, and so forth is literally the size of our screen, one of the bigger challenges that we need to do when we interact with clients is uptake this concept of applying, I call it the Netflix effect. So think about it this way. When you go into Netflix or whatever service you're using today, you log in, you put in your profile, it shows you the shows that you just watched. And then what does it do? I know you know the answer.
Suggestions.
Right underneath it says, morons like you watch this show too, okay? And then you get sucked into the next thing. I just finished a 2-series part of like 20 hours. I couldn't let it go. All right, so I watched the whole thing until 2 a.m. every night for the last 2 weeks. And it was really good. But what's important about that is the same thing is done at Amazon. Facebook is doing it right now as we watch them, is that they're profiling us. Now, what happens when we meet with clients? Here's an example of Joe. I had this client, Joe, since he started. The names have been changed, so don't worry about it. He comes in, I put what I know about him. Some of these things I manage it, so I know it really well. Some of these things I don't know. Like he mentioned that he had an old 401k. I don't, he never told me where it was. It's just sticking in my brain. So I stick it on their map as a placeholder, right? It's like a yellow sticky. Like you told me you had this old 401k, but I don't know anything. You still have that play account at E-Trade. You still have that annuity from Lincoln your cousin sold you, right? You got that house. Well, actually, Adam, I just got married. I just married Myriad. Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. What do we know about Myriad? We don't know nothing. Okay. But I do know something about the business. What if I overlaid what people like Myriad also have, because she's in the X generation?
Mhm.
Boom. I can instantly overlay what your peers are doing. Your peers typically have these kinds of retirement accounts. They have a job. Maybe they have some other source of income, like, Nana's giving them gifts, or they got a rental real estate property picked up when they were a kid, or in the residency, or whatever. Okay. The key is that when we start overlaying what your map could or should have on it, right? People like you did this. Now all of a sudden we get permission to talk about these things without it sounding like I'm here to sell you life insurance.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And that's because that's not what it was about, right? It's I got to check where's the eggs, where's the milk, where's the beer, I mean, where's the wine, whatever it is you have in your fridge. You now know what's in my fridge, right? So butter, don't forget butter. I have butter. But that's the point. And the fact is that advisors.
So it's almost reflexive suggestions.
That's right.
Is what you just said.
But the advisor has to choose that.
That's right. And I think that's actually better than reflexive questioning, because the suggestions, I think there's a lot of times, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, where I would not maybe have naturally thought of that question. Like, I was a life insurance underwriter for a lot of years. And when you ask people, how are they? I'm great. And then I get their records, their medical records. I'm like, yeah, but you had this bypass 5 years ago. Oh yeah, but I feel fine now. I didn't specifically make that suggestion to them, right? But exactly. Whatever. So I think that's really valuable. Carrie Coghill asked in the chat, as information's being entered or updated, does the system timestamp it so that the advisor team knows when the last update occurred?
Absolutely. For every single instrument and everything in here, full audit trails, in fact, defensible audit trails if we need it, with the good old friends at the DOL originally, and now at the BIR community. Yeah, there's an enormous amount of kind of back end stuff that we've put behind the scenes to protect us from ourselves. But I think one of the things when you start thinking this way and you can start overlaying, the key, as you've already figured out, is about engagement. How do I get people to start having a conversation they either know they should have, could have, or haven't had, and show that I'm paying attention and asking the questions that they're bringing me in, right? Because they don't know what they don't know, right? Yeah. So very often the client comes and says, well, I want to buy because I love this. I heard GameStop's going up great. I want to invest in that. Like, yeah, you have 3 kids and you have no life insurance. Like, we're putting on the seatbelts first before I put you in the Tesla and rocket you off at 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah. Like, there's prudence here that we also need to execute. And it doesn't have to be always insurance and investment. These do diametric. They could be about, I see, I don't know, do you have wills? Why do you have this owned in your name? You're basically exposing all this to probate, and your family is going to be like trying to fight to get the assets because you had a prior marriage, or now you're a single mom, and now we never changed the beneficiary from your ex, and is now not into a trust for the kids. Wait, why did we do that? We need to have that conversation too, right? That's sometimes where we add the most value, Cheryl. It's not in like, oh, look at this good alpha, beta, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Dorothy also asked a great question. Do most advisors who subscribe use this for free? Or are they charging a fee for the planning? That's a good question. I love that question.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard all across the board. I'll tell you what, in my practice, because I can speak from my experience, we did asset map for every single prospect, and we do it at every single annual review, because we believe that, number one, all engagements are solidified at the fact finding. When I prove to you that I really know you and I've listened to you, and now I'm giving you insight on what I see in a non-judgmental way, that's where I build my relationship. Okay, I know that's true. It's also where I build the confidence and prove my competence because I'm asking good questions or I'm not. Okay, and that happens in a fact-finding environment. Tell me about what's going on in your life. Even psychologists know this, right? Let's talk about what's going on in your world right now. So the first 10 to 15 minutes of every single meeting was about fact-finding and building the map for that revelation. As a result, there was a reason I was going to get to something, but I just lost it. You ever have that moment?
Yeah, but one of the things that you just said, what just came to my mind as I'm looking at this and what you're talking about, and to Dorothy's point, I really think where you could take this too is if you took, whether you charge a fee or whether it's for free, you could even put together like an email campaign for your clients that says, anything changed? Here's your let's make sure we get that on the question, because one of my questions too was going to be, who all can get access to the asset map? Can you share it with like your property casualty person, your attorney, your whatever, so they can kind of see what's missing there? Or is it preferable for the advisor, whoever owns the asset map software that's using it, to get the connection there to do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the answer to the prior question, I'll answer
Yeah.
that. The prior question was, do people charge a fee? Yes, there are some people that charge a fee, but I would argue you're charging a fee for process, not for a product. The asset map is a process that you can choose to monetize by saying, hey, this is one of my value propositions in my product. I will give you context on your financial x-ray, and I'll even give you one. You're welcome. It's $500. And then we'll decide whether we're going to continue this engagement or not through either money management or placement or an ongoing relationship. And you use it as a core proviso of that. You might actually choose to layer e-money or money guide on top of that. That might be your argument of your value prop. I know a lot of people are giving it away because they just think it's a good way to profile, create engagement, show that you're delivering value. You're welcome. I created this for you. See, this is what we do for our clients. Gosh, thanks for giving me my whole life back in one page. And I'll actually read it. So I think those are really consistent, I think also attraction strategies for prospects to say, why do I want to work with this advisor? You can basically go and we will allow you to create your own link, and basically you can send this and it customizes for you. So the client gets this if they want to just pre-populate it in 2 seconds. We did briefly talk about obviously kind of where this sits in terms of technologies. I mentioned that briefly. This is kind of how we see the marketplace of tools today in financial planning and CRM and asset management or portfolio analytics. You can kind of see where we think everybody lives based upon whether they're in the middle, this is really customer centric, or they're very technical on the outsides. And all of us have these different tools, right? The question is, how do you connect them all? So we tend to focus a lot on what's the real key value proposition. So we connect to all the greens currently, and also Wealthbox too, actually now. So this is old, this slide. I want to make us, give us an opportunity to show the live system, because I know some of you are asking about that. But I think for us, what we've learned, and we've now tracked because we've been using this outside of my own personal firm's experience now for 8 years, is that advisors are actually generating significantly more revenue using this process. That has been the most amazing thing to see. I tripled my revenue 3 years in a row before I said, wait, this is interesting. Let me try to build tech around it. So I had that personal experience. But to see now that even large organizations, huge with thousands of advisors, the advisors using this process are making double-digit increases. Those are just scale numbers. And it's because when you engage people about where they really live, you earn the right to do more business with them in lots of lines of business. So we think what's happening is that the data is showing that we're getting a lot greater cross-sell and follow-through with clients, as opposed to overwhelming them with 3 meetings and 500 pages. That's really the key, is speed today and data. So I do want to, I want to share for any of you that do want to run. We have been lucky enough to be associated with Cheryl, and I know Allison negotiated with Cheryl on your behalf for all the parties or members of Females in Finance. We've created a landing page, which is at the top of the screen. So if this is something you want to explore, get a demo on your own and see if it fits in your practice. We are excited to have you experience that. And we have special pricing actually for our female in finance community. So thank you, Cheryl, for making that possible, and we're happy to be part of it. What kinds of questions do you have out there, or Cheryl, you can help us address or answer?
Yeah, I'm sitting here, and I want to say thank you, because this has just been, you guys have been amazing partners, and you saw sort of what I visualized with feminine diverse talent out there in and making certain that we had quality, just not just networking, but just a quality community that we can draw upon from each other, because the community as a whole needs to have some structure like we've been able to experience at Females in Finance. And I will make certain everybody gets this, so no problem there. One of the questions that just came through on chat was from Sylvia. She said, how about privacy and compliance?
Yeah, we're very private. I won't even answer that question. It's not appropriate, Sylvia. Yeah, well, look, privacy, I forgot to answer the other question which you had asked, and that would have answered this. We do not have a client portal. Everything is at the advisor side. That means if you're a subscriber to Asset Map, you control and own all access to that data. The only output that could ever come out of the system is PDF, and that can be shared with the client, who can then clearly share it with their attorney, accountant, advisor, and so forth. Unless they're another Asset Map advisor, in which case we can establish collaboration. So what we've seen, probably the biggest, the fastest growing area, is people who focus on a specialty. So I'm a generalist. I want to bring in Cheryl. She's an insurance specialist.
Mhm.
I get authorization from the client to share that with Cheryl. And I instantly add Cheryl as an advisor, and she can go in there and she can look at the Asset Map, play around, do modeling, and then give her guidance in real time by putting embedded notes right into the map. Say this is something that needs attention, or maybe comment or correct some of the work I'm doing. So the key here is to focus on advisors expanding their community of expertise, not necessarily tech. So think about all these tech tools that are all trying to talk to each other, and it stinks. They can't talk to each other well. But guess what? Us humans, we can still talk to each other if we have the same framework, if we're on the same page. So the key is to actually allow an advisor to start expanding their capacity by bringing in human expertise, but look at the same fact set. So we're all looking at the X-ray. One person's in Mumbai, this person's in London, I'm here in Philly, and we're all adding our collective advisor intelligence to that situation. Now, from a privacy standpoint, we've been very, very conscientious about it because we're used by global Fortune 50 companies, and they put us through the mill for years. So the enterprise platform that's out now at version 5 is geared for its level, it's in its bank level platform. So and we have actually no access to any of the client data. It's designed so that even myself, I can't even get access to the data. So
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been very aware of it, but thanks for asking.
One of the other questions I have, Females in Finance has a very large footprint in Canada. Do you at some point see yourself partnering?
Yeah, we're in Canada now.
Okay.
In fact, we actually are creating, we have actually marketing videos for the Canada market if you want to use this in prospecting. And for those of you in Europe, we have a huge team in South Africa, also people on the ground, and we're moving to an instance to Ireland. So, and we're GDPR compliant.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So I think, we've been very mindful of where we're growing intentionally.
Well, yeah, and you also have foreign residents and those living here too that have multiple things of that nature. So I think that that's really great. And we definitely have some people that in that Canadian, we have a pretty big footprint. A lot of times what happens is Females in Finance gets advisors that are in other countries because they don't have anything like us there.
Yeah.
And which I'm grateful at the same time that they're here, but I also try to provide them with resources of what they can do. So that's good to know. And I love the fact, like I said, I'm going to continue to harp on this whole idea of the map itself works. I mean, I have a mind map even for my relationship with you and Allison, because every time I have an idea of something I want to talk to you about, I go to my mind map, I draw it out, it's there. And the next time I talk to you, I can pull it up and I can look at it. This is exactly what this allows people to do, but it's just a little cleaner.
Yeah, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally in the live platform, and I'm looking at my business partner, and I'm looking at the fact that we have a buy sell, and he's taking this money, and he has an IRA, and how is this being managed, and how am I going to make sure that I have an exit plan here? And I'm using all Asset Map tools. I'm not using anything else, and you can see the speed of which we designed this. I want to look at the special needs trust and then my business company, or I want to look at the Down Syndrome Foundation because it's involved. And we're thinking about, designating that some of the life insurance would go to this trust, and we want to do that in the future. So when you think about doing this and literally modeling and talking about retirement, you can see literally how fast this is, that we can really start educating people and talking about why we need to, make changes, right?
And I gotta say one thing. If there's any one thing for women on here, the long-term care part of the relationship is so critical, because oftentimes we hear oh, we're going to self-fund that. You're only going to self-fund it by doing what? You've got to liquidate assets in order to pay for things. I mean, that's
Right.
just true.
Let's
And
go
I
into
don't,
that.
I don't think people model that nearly enough, not because you have to go buy a long-term care policy, because that's not what I'm here telling you have to buy. But you do have to plan for that because the liquidation happens and no, you cannot live at extended stay forever. I've seen some guy who put a big thing about how you're going to live at the Marriott. They're not coming to give you your medicine.
What do they charge?
Yeah, right. So I think that this is really important because I saw that one page you were back, a couple pages where you could see the money either growing or running out.
Yeah.
If
So
you know,
and that's a great example. And I think that what we see a lot is we tend to see these two, retirement and loss of life, loss of life run a lot. But we tend to not see long-term care and disability. And it's hard to communicate to most people what the real physical cost is of this. I mean, if you just look at even just typically what it costs, right? A 4-year event for 90 grand a year for inflated at 5% for 4 years on an after-tax basis. Oh, plus you got to modify the home because you want to stay at home. And
yeah.
like, these are real numbers. And the question is, are you going to self-insure this? Well, Adam, I've got these bank CDs I can use. Okay, great. So we've got 84 grand. We're short almost 300,000. Well, Adam, I don't have 300 grand. Great. You can finance it over 4 years. All you need to do is come up with $6,400 a month. What?
Yeah, exactly.
So are you going to insure it or are you going to self-insure it?
And Social Security is not covering that. So please, everybody, stop it with the
Right.
Social Security.
Right. Or you know what? I tell you what, Cheryl, just that's totally fine. You want to self-insure, you just please show me which of these assets I can take the 300 grand from. Is it this brokerage account or is it the SEP? Do you want me to take it? I know what we'll do. We'll blow out the vacation home. Are you cool with that? But wait a minute, my kids go there on vacation there in the summer. Okay, so we're not blowing that out. So clearly, maybe we need something over here that addresses long-term care.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that? Yeah, that's a great idea, Adam. How should we do that? Well, let me show you actually some of the ways that typically people solve this problem.
And Michael, I guess it's Racinelli. He says Medicare does not pay for assisted living or LTC. Thank you, Michael.
Right. There you go.
Feeling that through this because it's the truth.
I'm going to apply a stencil. Watch this. This is really cool. I'm going to apply conversation basics. I'm going to apply long-term care. Watch this to Christine. What it's doing is it's adding people like you thought about this. Now I'm being selective and I'm saying, you know what, just put the action flicks on there.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. You see it on her map now. It says long-term care, $1 a month. It's it's the elephant in the room. As an advisor, I know I need to bring this up, but I need to do it in a delicate way. Christine, I did some modeling. It looks like we're maybe short as much as $300,000. I think it's time for us to address this. I didn't see it on your map, but maybe you just didn't tell me. Do you have a long-term care policy? And if you don't, if you do, tell me the benefits, right? Is it $100 a day? Is it, no, Adam, I don't have anything. All right, well, we probably need to fill this bucket eventually because we don't want what happened to Dad to happen to Nana. I need that to not happen to you from a dignity perspective. You see what I just did?
Yeah.
I helped them by pointing out, listen, these are some things you need to consider without it being about, I got to sell you something. Solve the real pain point, which is we got to arrive and have the right stuff in our bag when we get there. So you can see how I did that literally live. I wasn't planning on it. I literally just did it. So the key for us, I think, is about speed. And I would hope to impart on almost all of you that we just need to unlock that beautiful intelligence that's already in your head, right? Take that empathy and intelligence and now apply it in real time to these clients so that we can facilitate a better conversation and really get some stuff done, right? You know, so that's the key.
As we wrap up, do you offer training for the clients of Asset Map so they can be as lickety quick as Adam Holt is?
Well, come on. Let's not push it here. Lickety quick. You're yeah, of course. We are crazy with training. We actually run programs every month. We have about 20 hours of self-help video you could watch to do on your own. Just do it all in a weekend. You can participate in our boot camps. Actually, we have one this week. We do a 101 boot camp for 4 hours straight. And then we do a 201 it's a master class with me for 2 days for 5 hours each. That's actually this week too. We can limit the number of advisors there that really just want to learn how to weaponize this thing in their practice. So yeah, we're really, really committed to it.
Wonderful.
Love doing it. It's clearly what we like to do.
Well, we're just about at the time, and in fact, we are at time. You guys have been amazing. I cannot believe everybody's been hanging on here to the last minute because bated breath. Here we are. I will make certain that your link gets added to everything. I appreciate your partnership, your friendship. You are a wealth of knowledge. Every time I talk to you, I'm smarter.
You're too kind.
No, I'm not. I'm telling the truth.
Smile wider. How about that? Because you do bring so much joy. And so don't make this all about just us. This is about a community that you have actually taken the time and energy to create. And we thank you for doing what you've done to bring us all together. So thank you, Cheryl. And
absolutely. And people on Facebook are all saying thank you as well. And then Anthony says, if I want to learn the baby steps of asset map because I'm very slow, is there a tutorial for that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a tutorial for that. There's a thing for that.
I'm glad for that because I'm sure Daryl is listening too, who's on here, and he would be the first one to admit as well. Yeah. He likes to do things in smaller bites. It's easier for him to.
Well, we onboard every single advisor one-on-one. So we actually do dedicated, we'll get you there. That's the key, to customize all the training. So we'll do it.
And Dorothy asked about cost. The pricing is going to be on the page for us, so we can go there just to save some time. And
yeah, that's like beyond my knowledge, but I know that we've given, I think, a 25% lifetime discount for all Asset Map subscribers who are part of FNF. And so female in finance. So that's a huge thing. We tend to only give that to broker dealers. But we're doing that because of our relationship, and we love you. And so hopefully you guys take it.
I didn't even know that, so thank you. I was just excited to do this today. All right, we will get in touch with everybody. You're the best, always, always.
You're fun.
Appreciate you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.